I want to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, double honors to the elders, great millstone, and salutation to all you Akim on the Highway and Byway teaching his truth sincerely. Um, I don't know what I'm gonna title this video yet, but I'm gonna think of something. It's gonna come to me when I'm reading the article. The U.S. is facing supply chain challenges, but so is China, experts say. So what this is telling you right here, this is all systematic. You know, the elite, what they want is, I'm thinking, MOTB is coming, or economic crash. I'm gonna title the video "Economic Crash." U.S. is facing supply chain challenge, but so is China, experts say. Witnesses tell the U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission that U.S. and China remain interdependent in many sectors and hard to decouple. It is in our own national interest to find ways to reduce China's sense of insecurity, one expert argues. So you should, witness or someone who studied economics and security is talking about how U.S. and China's relationship is going, and it's not going too well, and they're saying that America should do something about it because most of the goods and most of the things you use are from China, which is why they're telling you should do something about it, since it's in our own national interest to find a way to reduce China's sense of insecurity. It's your interest, If America has interest with China, so therefore you should try to do your best to decrease their insecurity in their economics, or something along the lines, right? The supply chain, try to fix the supply chain, while the U.S. is rightly concerned about protecting and developing. So I don't see my video. All right, it's playing. About protecting and developing its supply chain to make it less dependent on China. Policymakers should remember that China had a large supply chain problem of its own. That was one message experts brought on Thursday to the U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission, USCC, the government leading advisory panel on the China policy. Another, though, was that the U.S. and China remain interdependent in many sectors, complicating any U.S. initiatives to build alternative supply chains or decouple from China. Witnesses told the panel that China, which is also seeking to achieve self-reliance in many sectors, has failed to build its own domestic industries in critical areas like semiconductor, electric vehicles, batteries, and financial sector. Take the Chinese telecoms giants Huawei Technology, ZTE, and Mark Dallas, an associate professor of political science and Asian studies at Union College in New York, said. I'm going to say Skinnati. I'm going to say New York, Skinnati. The operation in the U.S. have raised national security concerns in recent years, but Dallas said that their cases also revealed how dependent the Chinese economy is on the U.S. So they both need each other, right? Well, America's going to be wiped off the face of the earth, so America's not going to be that cash cow anymore for all these other nations. While China possesses some key capability that expose America to vulnerabilities, China's dependency on the U.S. and U.S. allied countries is far greater, Dallas told the panel. I don't believe that. I think Esau just puffed up with pride, because you think China, most of the thing, it doesn't make sense because America doesn't build anything, right? And the things we do build, China doesn't need it. China got food. They got their own, they build their own things. They make their own cars, right? China depends on the U.S. and U.S. allied countries is far greater. Lies. Because Esau gets most of his clothes, America, Babylon. It's clothing, it's food, the technology, right? You got people who want pet food. I want, you got a dog. You need dog food, cat food. You want to get a guinea pig cage, right? You need a shampoo. Most of that stuff is from China. Deodorants, what else? Soap bars, video games, Xboxes, PlayStations, flat screen TV. Like, what does China have from America? I can't name one thing. So Esau, he's still trying to give people that delusion, that facade, that he's still that power. Like, yeah, so like, yeah, America's still a superpower, but this right here, this whole statement he just made is ridiculous. China needs China dependency is far greater than the U.S. No, it's not, bro, man. America's in $1 trillion of debt. Gas prices going through the roof. Police officers talking about they're not going to be able to patrol the streets. There's food shortages, and you're talking about China is going to be man. And half the stuff we have is not even from, I could read something right now, and probably I have, read some type of clothing, and they'll say made in China. Most Vietnam, China, most of the things America has is from other countries, right? High-tech companies like Hawaii, he added, are substantially dependent from top to bottom on an entire stack of technologies, machinery, hardware, software, components, and standard setting process, which they do not control. I think our independencies are much worse than people realize. You know? So the reason why Moab don't want the semiconductor is because they're about to go to war with Taiwan for that. Um, I'm, I'm gonna just title this video "Plagues" because I'm getting into different. I'm gonna try to get into different things. Just thinking about it now. I got articles on the funding, the food shortage. Biden executive order defunds police by another name. This is June 7th. You know, June 10th. This is June 10th. You know. So what's the title? Biden executive order defunds police by another name. Here are the reasons Biden executive order on police is problematic. Let's see what this guy says in the video.
This is the 2022 BZ4X. And on the surface,
speaking of Los Angeles, it is just one of many major American cities that have stopped enforcing some traffic laws. Things like broken taillights or expired stickers will no longer get you pulled over, all in the name of racial equity. Critics have long warned that letting people get away with breaking the law will only lead to more crime, and they say the current crime wave proves them right. Here with reaction is Joe Gamaldi, National Vice President of the Fraternal Order of Police. Joe, great to see you here today. Back in March, Philadelphia became the first city to ban police officers from pulling over drivers for those minor traffic violations I mentioned, things like expired tags, broken brake or taillights, all in the name of racial equity. It hasn't turned out so well. Officials say crime is on the rise, and now the Philadelphia Lodge of the FOP, the Fraternal Order of Police, is suing to invalidate the law. What more can you tell us?
All I have to say is, here we go again. I mean, we've seen this story before. We have politicians, academics, and activists pushing these woke, no-consequence criminal justice policies, and they gaslight the American public into thinking this is going to make your community safer without any data to prove that it's actually going to do that. We saw it with bail reform and completely decriminalizing minor offenses, which led to urban decay and our huge crime increase. And in fact, this new policy that's going to, tell officers they can't do traffic stops, it's only going to make matters worse. And I actually have the data to back it up, because in 2020, 42% of all illegal firearms pulled off the streets in New York. Guess what? Surprise, surprise, traffic stops. Kansas City, 1 in every 28 traffic stops pulled the gun off the street. And the funny thing is, the folks that are pushing these policies, they say it's going to help our minority communities, but it actually does the opposites. Because you know who's disproportionately impacted by violent crime in this country? Black Americans, to the tune of 12 times the homicide rate than everybody else. So the people that are pushing these policies, they're, at best, uninformed idiots, and at worst, they just don't give a damn about their communities. And either way, it ain't good.
Well, it's interesting.
Yeah, so like what he's saying, Jake is wild, man. Jake, the one thing I don't believe is the birth rates that we're the smallest number. I don't believe that. I just can't buy into that. But to say that we commit most of the crimes, I can see some of the violent. But Jake, Jake is a wild bull in that, And now they're using the racial thing. Oh, black people are most ones pulled over. Jake is an asshole. I'm gonna be honest. Like, our people aren't perfect. And like most of these tail lights are usually from Jake. Jake don't want to get his car fixed. Jake, then I seen someone's whole front bumper, a bunch of niggas in it, right? Whole front bumper was off, and they were speeding through the street. I'm like, what the fuck? Every time on my street there's a car accident, And who is it? Jake. It's always Jake fucking crashes his car. Jake without a license. Jake, what? Jake. So lucky on that. I don't know who that is. Hope my video's still playing. My video is not playing. Okay. I don't know who that is. Who is it? Okay. Like I was saying before, I lost my train of thought from some random number. I'm gonna I was talking about Jake crashing, on my street. Jake. Let me see if my video gonna play now.
The city councilman who authored the bill said that
video.
Philadelphia was leading the way when it came to the issue. Seems they're leading the way to lawlessness. And since then, other cities have followed suit. Los Angeles, Minneapolis, the entire state of Virginia. How are those places doing?
Not well. And a recent Gallup poll said that 80% of Americans are worried about violent crime in this country. And boy, are they right. We just came off a historic year in homicides in this country, and it's not slowing down. Murders are up 55% in Seattle. They're up 21% in Portland. Milwaukee's up 34%. New Orleans is up 36%. Not only that, we're seeing massive increase in violence against law enforcement. We've already had 142 police officers shot in this country. That's an 11% raise over last year's historic numbers. It's not stopping. And I just don't understand how these politicians...
Yo, man, he saw you that George Floyd thing. That's a ploy, man. They vex Jake. It's like turning up the heat on an oven that's already hot. Because if you look at it, from a standpoint, you are, let's say, let's see, from Esau's point of view, right? You enslaved the people, you oppressed them, and now you're killing them still to this day. Now you got the news media talking about how you're. Now you got the news media talking about how Jake is getting shot left and right. Now Jake is getting vexed. What does that scripture say? Judah's woke from the prey. Let me just get that. Judah. Genesis 49:9. Judah is a lion woke from the prey. thou art gone up. He stooped down, he crouched as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up? You know, all these shootings, George Floyd, Michael, somebody died. I don't know. I don't. There's a lot of Jake, getting shot. But I'm trying to tell you that once Jake get moved, when Judah starts moving to other tribes, Levi, Ephraim, Manasseh, Simeon, Reuben, all these tribes are gonna join also. Because Judah's the head tribe. I was watching a brother's video. They were talking about how to be when they first been on the highways and byways. They didn't get that many people, but the people who they did get first was Judah. And after Judah came in the tribe, a couple of Judah all across came in the tribe. All of a sudden, all the other tribes came. So it's a spiritual thing because it's spiritually Judah. No, it's not spiritual, but Judah is the leader, the head, of Israel. But so I had to start with Judah first. But he said the crime rate against police officers is on the high, man. If the new Esau's using that, right? That the news is like that. The news media to use that as to not vex vex Jake. Oh my gosh, you got another black male shot by the police, etc. And you got the Black Lives Matter. You got Stephen King. I mean, that's the dude from a horror. Salaki. I forgot that guy. He's an activist. There's a Black Lives Matter activist. I thought that was Shalaki on there. But you got a lot of activists. You got a lot of these pages like Dr. Umar, right? All these anti-police, anti-white pages on social media, on YouTube, right? Jake is getting roused up, right? He's getting tired of Esau, right? Not only that, but Jake is wicked anyway. They said the crime rate went up even higher. Let's see now. But the police are getting defunded because what Esau wants is the order out of chaos. He wants enough chaos and crimes to go through the roof, right? It's just so he could bring in that the New World Order, bringing them troops, right, from the other cities, from the not the other countries, Salaki, other countries, other continents, right? So they can implement that martial law here in this country, and so that you won't be able to go nowhere, you know.
Aren't getting the hint. The American people are very clear what we want. We want straight, safe streets. We want our neighborhoods to be secure. We want our businesses to thrive. And there's going to be a reckoning. So, if you're a politician in this country, and I don't care whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, and you're ignoring this crime problem, and you're not wanting law and order in these streets, you better get your resume ready because your ass is going to be looking for a job in November.
Yeah, to that point, I want to bring up a headline from the New York Times. The headline says Democrats face pressure on crime from a new front, their own base. Not long ago, the party was focused on police reform, but rising.
Seattle, they're up 21% in Portland. Milwaukee's up 34%. New Orleans is up.
So lucky, I think I accidentally rewind the video.
36%. Numbers. It's not stopping. And I just don't understand how these politicians aren't getting the hint. The American people are very clear what we want. We want straight, safe streets. We want our neighborhoods to be secure. We want our businesses to thrive. And there's going to be a reckoning. So, if you're a politician in this country, and I don't care whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, and you're ignoring this crime problem, and you're not wanting law and order in these streets, you better get your resume ready because your ass is going to be looking for a job in November.
Yeah, to that point, I want to bring up a headline from the New York Times. The headline says Democrats face pressure on crime from a new front, their own base.
Democrats face pressure from a new front, their base.
Not long ago, the party was focused on police reform, but rising fears of violence, especially along communities of color, have led candidates to change course. So what's going to happen this November at the box office? Because like you said, some of the communities that are most affected are the Black communities, the Hispanic communities, and they're Democrats. So what happens this November?
I'm telling you right now, if these candidates don't get on the bandwagon with law and order and what communities really want in these streets, they're going to be voted out. A recent poll said that 80% of 80% of Black Americans want more police officers in their neighborhood. 80% of Hispanic Americans want more police officers in their neighborhood. It's very clear what we want. We want law and order, and if not, we're going to find somebody that's going to give it to us.
Sorry, I meant to say ballot box. I said box office. I must have movies on the brain. It's Friday. Joe Gamaldi, all good points there. Thank you so much for coming today. We'll see you again.
Thank you.
But so like Jake wants the police in the street, you know. Jake, our people want police. It's Black Hispanic, so-called Black Hispanic. No, man, you're not getting that. You know, things are gonna get worse. Jake, you better get ready, man. Jake wanna police. No one wants to be here, man. Nobody, you know. It's gonna get way worse. You know them birth pains, right? Between historic surges in violent crime, frequent calls to defund the police, and a deluge of soft on crime policies emanating from the Democratic Party on a regular basis, President Joe Biden's recent signing of an executive order that ostensibly advances effective policing and strengthens public safety, likely came as a relief to many Americans. Besides far too many other Biden policy initiatives, the language surrounding the executive order is widely misleading. In reality, advancing effective, accountable policing and criminal justice practices to enhance public trust and public safety, signed by Biden on May 25th, does more to appease far left priorities than it does to reduce crime, improve policing, or make our community safer. And it should sound the alarm for every American who cares about our nation's heroic men and women in law enforcement. The Biden executive order is problematic for three main primary reasons. It was intentionally designed to bypass Congress and impose extreme anti-police policies on the nation by way of executive fiat. Demonstrators told a sign reading "Defund the Police" during a protest over the death of a black man. Daniel Prude, after police put a spit hood over his head during an arrest on March 23rd in Rochester, New York, U.S. September 6, 2020. I've called on Congress to pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, but Senate Republicans have stood in the way of progress. Biden tweeted, "That's why this afternoon I'm taking action and signing an executive order that delivers the most significant police reform in decades." Yo, this dude, man, Joe Biden is something else, man. He said, you know what? Don't even listen to them, you know? I'm going to override their power, and I'm going to override the Congress so I can do it myself, you know? You know, if you ever watched Thanos, I forgot, there was this movie, there was a, at the end of one of the movies, I guess, you know, and he says, I guess I got to do it myself because the army that he sent to Earth to fight the Avengers, they lost. And at the end of the movie, he's like, I guess I got to do this myself. You know, talking about how, you know, that's Joe Biden. That's Joe. He's going to teach you, you know. He wants to take, you know, he's trying to make this, he's trying to crash this whole country, you know. Guess I got to do it myself. You know, that's what I think of when I see this. So, the second, let's read. I'm gonna go down to the second one. The second, the executive order is rooted in the lie that American law enforcement is systematically racist. A White House fact sheet detailing the executive order, for instance, nods to the so-called legacy of systematic racism in our criminal justice system and in our institutions more broadly. Even though a long series of academic studies have thoroughly debunked this divisive narrative, it remains foundational to many of the left's policy proposals, particularly when it comes to policing. The lie that our men and women in blue are somehow tainted by systematic racism is a slanderous lie that damages the law enforcement company to a remarkable extent, and Biden's proliferation of this charge should not be seen as anything other than the left's attempt to vilify our law enforcement heroes to score cheap political points.